Hey everyone, I got a devotional thought for you guys today. And I was kind of going back over some old Bible stories. And the one that jumped out at me, and I don't know why this is calling to me today, but I found myself in the old story of Daniel in the lion's den. A great story. We've all heard it from, if you were raised in the church, you saw it, heard stories of it all coming up through Sunday school and Bible school. It's a very traditional Bible lesson they teach you from a very young age. And I think a lot of us know it. The simple story is that Daniel was a servant of the king. He was thrown into this den of lions overnight. An angel came, shut the lion's mouth, so he was not killed. Great story. VeggieTales version. Everything you can find, they have it out there on this. What I found interesting, and I kind of wanted to share with you, was why God showed up. Why that angel was sent to protect Daniel at that time. And it happens because of what happened before. So if I'm going to read to you from the beginning of the 6th chapter of the book of Daniel. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps stationed throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 presidents, including Daniel. And to these satraps gave account so that the king might suffer no loss. Basically, Daniel's put in charge of a bunch of governors. He is one of a couple what they would consider high governors. He's one of just a couple of those guys. Okay, skipping ahead a little bit. Daniel distinguished himself above all the other presidents and satraps because of an excellent spirit was with him. And the king planned to appoint him over the whole kingdom. He was about to get a promotion. So the presidents and the satrap tried to find grounds for complaint against Daniel in connection with the kingdom, but they could find no grounds for complaint or any corruption because he was faithful, and no negligence or corruption could be found within him. The men said, "We shall not find any ground for complaint against Daniel unless we find it in his connection with the law of his God." So they know what this guy's all about. They know that his faith makes it important, is very important to him, and it's what makes him who he is. So basically, the presidents and the satraps, picking up in verse 6, the presidents and the satraps conspired and came to the king and said, "O King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the counselors and the governors are agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an edict that whoever prays to anyone, divine or human, for 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be thrown into a den of lions. Now, O king, establish this edict and sign the document so that it cannot be changed." Again, simple law. These were not that uncommon for the king to be worshipped, especially in this area, which is where the Jews had been taken during this captivity. Kings were worshipped as gods all the time. King Darius, though he was a fairly faithful and upright man, he had no faith in God at this point, though it does come a little bit later. Although Daniel knew the document had been signed, he continued to go to his house, which had windows in its upper room open towards Jerusalem, and to get down on his knees 3 times a day to pray to his God and praise him, just as he had done previously. The conspirators came and found Daniel praying and seeking mercy before God, and they approached the king, and they turned Daniel in. Okay, it's a great place to stop. Daniel continued to pray, as he had always done. He had prayed 3 times a day in this special place, facing Jerusalem, in the open air, out the window, so he could imagine what it was like back at home. Again, these guys had been captured. They had been taken out of Jerusalem and were now in a foreign land. Daniel longed to return to Jerusalem, as most of the Jews did, and he prayed that way. Even in the face of what then became his faith becoming illegal, he still took it upon himself to go and pray. Because of what Daniel did then and before, even before it was a law to not do it, he continued to do it as he had previously done. He kept praying. That's why God showed up in that lion's den to him later. It wasn't because Daniel was special and God needed to protect him at that time. It was because of all the things that had happened in Daniel's life prior to, and the behavior that he had, the things that he had done to distinguish himself as a man of God. Whether you're at a crossroads or a crisis point, like being thrown in a lion's den or not, that's when you want God to show up. That's when you seek God the most. Unfortunately, it's not your behavior at that point that's going to matter. It's what you've done all leading up to it. So just because you're not at a crisis point in your life right now doesn't mean that you shouldn't be turning to God every single day. When we sit down and we think about, oh, this is different and this has changed and nothing's the same as it was, and I like my routine and my rhythm of Sunday mornings and Wednesday Bible studies and all these things that you used to do, it doesn't mean that those things are less important now. As a matter of fact, I like to say they're more important. Because at some point, there will come a crisis point in our lives where we'll have to go to God and say, God, help us. Help. Something horrible is about to happen. There's some lions right here. These dangers are literally right in front of me. I need you to intervene. And God's going to look back at your behavior all up until that point, and He's going to say, this person had been faithful throughout the entire life. I encourage you to continue to be faithful, even when you don't see the results of it, even when you don't have a danger right in front of you that you have to worry about. Continue to be faithful, because all of those days of faithfulness add up, and they do mean something to God in the end. When your faith is tested, you need to have a firm foundation to stand on. This is the time for your foundation. Build that foundation up. Pray unceasingly every day. Remember to make God a central part of your life and your identity. Because of all that, you'll have that foundation when that crisis point hits. And that danger, God will protect you from, just as He did Daniel. Thank you all for watching. We will see you on Thursday.